Welcome to the Bible Breakdown. It's a black man and woman in America who no longer identify as believers. This show contains adult languages, themes, and isn't meant for children. As black people, we respect the history of the black church in America, but its current state is massively abusive, and we think the Bible might be part of the problem. Listen and let us know what you think. Peace.
There we go. There are those little waveforms. I kind of feel like this election is also sort of a referendum on whether or not we want Christian nationalism, because I feel like that's what a lot of people are voting for, and because for them that's the most important thing in the world. It doesn't matter what a good candidate Harris might be. It's because Donald Trump is openly saying it's like, yeah, Christian nationalism, because that means white dudes in charge. And I think since that's been like the history of America, that's mostly what's been going on. And conservative means keep the same. People want to keep the same stuff, even though it hasn't really worked. Especially not for everybody. It works great for the privileged class, but for everybody else, it just, I guess it's just a big push against progress, and I like progress, so I'm never going to work against progress, even if it means like it's going to be different than what I'm used to.
I mean, that is all things I agree with. I just personally feel like I'm just over it.
Once again, it's, I guess, whatever that means, but like that's just life. Like we don't get to have this. It doesn't just extend to politics. That's every aspect of life. We don't, because we're dealing with human beings, and
which is why I don't deal with human beings as little as possible. I think I have the right to feel that way, and I think I've had the right to, when I don't like a certain energy, not be surrounded by that, or I have the right to be exhausted and be like, yeah, I don't want to do this shit.
I guess just compared to what it used to be, which is you can just stay at home darky and not participate. To me, this is exciting.
But I didn't say I was staying at home.
I know you're not staying at home, but just it took such a short amount of time to like, let's get out. Like, I want to vote. No, we'll kill you if you try to vote. And now that we can vote, it's just kind of like,
I don't feel like that's fair.
I'm not that jazzed about it.
I don't feel like that's fair, because there are a lot of factors that went into people feeling like this, such as killing our civil rights leaders, giving us crack, and allowing us to form gangs, and then that led to the I don't know if this is the word, but disconnection, I guess would be better, between black people in their familial systems.
But we're just getting the society that we deserve. Like, we act like politics is somehow divorced from us, but it's us. So if we keep voting for the same people, i.e. the George Bushes, the Ronald Reagans, who put those policies in place where we can flood the communities with drugs, because once again, they don't want our talent and our youth to thrive. They only want a certain population to do well. So if we keep voting the same way, we'll keep having the same outcomes. And that's the thing. Our enemies they're not tired. They're not disenfranchised. They're super jazzed and energetic, and they're motivated. So whenever we get this malaise, which is part of their plan, which is learned helplessness, which is to get us feeling like there's, this is, all bullshit and it doesn't really matter. That's part of their plan. Like, that is part of the strategy.
I don't feel like it's all bullshit or it doesn't matter, though. I just feel like
you can
only control what you can control.
Well, exactly. So why not use the controls that you have and feel empowered by that? Like, to me, it's just a matter of perspective as to how you want.
My thing is, why do I have to feel jazzed about it? Like, if I said I was going to do it, it doesn't matter if I go excited or not excited.
It's just frustrating to hear, because our enemies don't have that energy. They're very much like, yeah, we're going to, like, like I said, even the result of feeling, kind of, is part of their plan. So like, my whole thing is like, I don't like playing into the hands of my enemies. If nothing else, I'm going to feel empowered. I'm going to feel good about this. I'm going to take a lot of joy in the fact that so many millions of people over hundreds of years worked to keep me from casting a vote. So I'm going to go into it with that energy. They lost. Like, to me, it's a victory. Every time I do it, it's a victory lap.
I feel like right here this is taking a sidestep, but like the biggest difference between some men and some women, because I constantly feel like I'm surrounded by women where it's like I'm still gonna do the thing, but it's like, no, you need to be excited to do the thing too, or it's not like, and it's like, no, motherfucker, I'm still doing the thing. Like, it doesn't matter how I feel
You're
about
right.
it. I'm doing it because it's my duty to do it.
Why I don't feel that way. I'm not telling you how to feel. I'm just telling you.
Well, it sounds like you were trying to convince me to feel otherwise.
You can feel however you want to. If you want to, once again, play into the hands of our enemies and feel kind of like, go ahead. Because
how is that playing into the hands of our enemies?
Over time,
though?
if you keep that energy, it's going to. It's discouragement. Like, you don't want encouragement. They don't want you to feel encouraged and empowered. They want you to feel discouraged and powerless. So to me, playing into that narrative is sad to see, but of course you can feel however you want to.
But I don't feel discouraged. I feel that I'm gonna go down, or wherever I'm gonna go to vote, because it's actually not downtown. But I'm going to go where I'm going to go to vote. I'm going to cast my vote, and then the outcome will be the outcome. And, like, yes, I'm hoping for the best possible outcome for my fellow countrymen. But ultimately, that's all I can do. Everything else I've done. Like, I'm in the community. I'm doing shit to make my immediate community the better place. So, like, I don't know what else I can do. I guess I can be upset about it if I don't get my outcome, but
I'm not.
There's nothing else I can do.
That's not what I was even talking about. I was just saying, like, there's an opportunity to feel empowered, and you can either take it or not.
But I do feel empowered. I just also feel like this is bullshit.
Oh man, even my polling places at a church. To me, that is what mostly bothers me, is the influence of sort of the modern Christian church into politics, which was supposed to be exactly what the United States was not supposed to be. Because if you like the Second Amendment, you should pay attention to the First Amendment, which is the state isn't allowed to have an official religion. But it seems like that is what, since, I'm going to go ahead and start the show. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Bible Breakdown. I'm your host, Kat.
I'm TK.
Hey, TK. And for those of you, of course, this is gonna, publish after the election, but today's election day. We're recording on November 5th, and we're going into it with a different energy, which is okay. I'm just, I still have a tremendous amount of anxiety, because I know, elections have consequences, and, and you're going into it with a little bit more, if I'm hearing you correctly, frustration over the, sort of incompetence and hypocrisy that seems to play out in politics.
It's that, and it's also, I don't even know if the right words, existentialism, nihilism, somewhere in that vein of just like, this only matters to us.
And I don't get that at all.
Which I'm okay with being in the moment, because I don't want people, immigrants, women, to feel like they don't have the support that their country should provide for them, which is, again, why I'm going to, not the only reason I'm going to vote, because I also, as you said earlier, believe in progression in the system. So yes, those are all reasons to go vote. I just personally am over talking about voting, seeing these, like, he should never even made it this fucking far. Like, this shouldn't even be a contest. This should not even be I'm over the system at large, as far as like people really feeling like, because to me, it just, if I was another country, I'd be like, America is just a fucking reality TV show. Like, this is a joke.
Well, we are electing a reality TV show.
This is a fun, but that to me is just one of the takes away from the integrity of the job. And then, excuse me, the fact that, I mean, again, he automatically should be disqualified as a rapist. It'd be different, I guess, if he was a rapist who had repented and like atoned for his shit and like tried to be better. But he has to me, has shown no regard to.
Actually, he had to pay more money because he kept calling the woman who won the settlement against him a liar. Now, to be clear, he wasn't found guilty on criminal charges. He was found guilty in a civil suit and had to pay damages, and then he kept going around saying like she was lying, so the judge upped the settlement because that's defamation. And so now he stopped, because every time he says something, the bill goes up. But since we have a podcast that's somewhat critical of the role Christianity has in our lives, do you think that has played a part in this election?
I haven't followed it to that extent, so I've only known what you've told me. But I mean, I wouldn't put it past people. Everywhere I turn, there's something.
Are you familiar with the Southern strategy?
I am not.
So this was back during the Civil Rights Act when that was passed, because most segregationists back in the day were Democrats. Like Democrats, they used to be called Dixiecrats because most of the Southern voters were Democrats. And it wasn't until Lyndon Johnson, a Democrat, signed the Civil Rights Act into law that the Republicans, they employed the Southern strategy and courted all of those segregationists to join their party. So at that point, the Republican Party became the party of segregation. You remember whoever that dude was, like, segregation then, segregation now, segregation forever. I think it was George Wallace or something like that. He was some senator or something or Strom Thurmond. All of those guys, they all became Republicans at that point. And ever since then, they've been employing this strategy and using Christianity as a part of that Southern strategy, because I don't know if you know this, but the South tends to be very Christian.
It is. This is disappointing, actually. But so does Little South, aka Indiana.
Well, yeah, we're still in the Bible Belt, so even though we're not considered the South, but I know you've noticed even, or maybe you didn't, I noticed when I was growing up, lots of sort of rural people who live out in sort of the sticks here in Indiana. You'd see a lot of Confederate flags, even though Indiana wasn't a part of the Confederacy.
Could have fooled me.
But we were kind of home base for the Ku Klux Klan. And there is still a branch of the Ku Klux Klan here. In fact, the Ku Klux Klan, fun fact, set up our education system here in Indiana. If you look at the Board of Education, I want to say in the 20s, those were all back in when it was cool to be in the Ku Klux Klan because they said they were protecting Americans. Like, it was super cool to be a part of the Klan until one of the guys in their leadership caught a rape charge. And a lot of people started backing up after that. So just some, fun. When you look at the history of stuff, which is why I like reading the Bible, because we haven't changed all that much. And the fact that people like to say, oh, it's the good book. It's like, it seems like sexism and human trafficking was a really, really big part of, Bible times. And it was a big part of creating America. So I think people are just scared of what the world can look like when it's not what they're used to. But to me, it can't be worse. Like, I think a world without human trafficking and sexism is a better world than us, being ruled by it. To me.
Yeah, I would not disagree with that. Again, I feel like I'm just over all of it.
What does that mean, though?
Means that, I'm past talking. I just feel like all of this is just talking with no result. We've had this conversation before, and you've made the argument that, that's how things get done, and it's not going to happen overnight and all that. Okay.
Well, when you say, I want to go back to what you said, there's no results. So what would be?
There's no immediate result.
Of course not.
Which
that would be.
You
can make that argument for not working out.
Exactly. That's fine.
So
Which is why most people give up.
But I'm just saying, are you over working out because you don't see immediate results?
No, I'm not.
So why are you over the political process just because you're not getting immediate results?
I do not like the energy that it brings, which I said earlier. I don't like, it's a lot of negative energy, and then it's forced somebody like Kamala Harris to play defense, because even though she probably is not, I mean, she's not perfect herself, but I don't have anything against her. She's not perfect herself. That's just her being a human.
Do you think a perfect candidate exists?
No.
So is it worth bringing up that she's not perfect?
Yeah, because I think we should live in reality. And people have this
people
have this idea.
The reality is no one's perfect, so why bring up the fact? It's also saying like she's not striped either. Like she doesn't. I mean, there's a lot of things she's not, but she's no like less. I mean, to me, that's always just a sort of slick way of taking her down a notch, as opposed to just.
But I wasn't trying to be slick.
I know you're not, but it just adds to a rhetoric that's already there.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's on purpose. I'm just pointing. It's just an observation. Like, I think that much like when democracy is a slog, but it's better than a kingdom, which we've been reading about here in 1Chornicles. We last episode read 1Chornicles 1-3, and we were going through all the descendants of the kingdoms of Judah and Israel. And I think I pointed out that patriarchal sort of dynasties aren't a great way of keeping track of who had who, because women can get pregnant by, there's no way to really know. This was back before they had DNA tests, or before they even know what DNA was. God could have told them, but chose not to. And so we're using who was the son. We're using who was the son of whom to decide who's going to be the ruler. But I mean, do you think that's a better system than what I get? Like, I see a future, and I would like to see a future where we have a better system than this. I really do. But I do think that it's an improvement on the system of the son of the last guy. He's in charge of everybody.
I feel like I'm just triggered by people constantly talking and not having an immediate result. So,
but that's a very American mindset. Like, the people who've got us to where we are didn't have that mindset of, well, if I'm not going to be able to reap the benefits, it's not worth doing. So to me, like, I am very grateful for people who laid this groundwork so that you and I can even be talking right now instead of working for someone for free. Like, that took work. Like, that was not the America that our ancestors were born into. But they worked really, really hard, knowing that it wasn't going to be an immediate result, but that we would get those benefits. And it doesn't mean things are perfect now, but to me, like, sitting on this podcast right now talking to you is much better than me being forced to work for someone else, being forced to have sex with someone, being forced to have children by, people I haven't chosen. Like, that is better. And I think striving for better is always a worthy goal. So that's why I still have an energy of, I think this is worth fighting for and working towards, even if it's not immediate.
I agree with those points.
Thank you. Do you remember what happened on the last episode with who begat who?
Last time was Chronicles 1-3. And I mean, it wasn't a lot. It was just a lot of genealogical stuff.
Okay. And then I remembered some of the names because there was Tamar and Judah. Because remember, Judah was Tamar's father-in-law who knocked her up with twins and was going to kill her until he found out those were his kids.
Yes. I don't remember that story specifically, but yes.
Oh my gosh. And once again, to me, that's so bizarre. I mean, people are different, right? To me, that story stuck out so much because it was so, I'm like, Bible, come on, this is a bad story. Like, the guy who's supposed to be the good guy, he's clearly the bad guy. Like, he was super fine murdering this woman for sleeping around until he found out she was actually pregnant with his kids. And then he was like, okay, let her live. And it's like, like that's terrible.
I think it just didn't stick out because I'm probably just desensitized to a lot of this at this point. But that's
fair. I guess I think if I could take anything from this conversation, I'm sensitive as hell. And it's, let's see. And a lot of this is reminding me too of, I'm reading a book right now called The Satanic Verses by Salman Rushdie.
Mm-hmm.
Have you, are you familiar?
I heard that name of that person though.
Okay, so Salman Rushdie was famous, or he is famous, but one of the things he's most famous for, besides being an author, and a very good one, was he had a fatwa declared against him. And a fatwa is a sort of religious edict, specifically from Islam, giving basically the fatwa said that it's on sight. When you see this dude, you can just kill him because he disrespected the prophet. Because in his book, he's sort of part of the book, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the book, but one of the sections of the book, he's detailing a part of the Prophet Muhammad's life and how what became known as the Satanic Verses came about. Because when the legend, anyway, of how Muhammad developed or kind of published the Quran, because the prophet himself was illiterate, so he would have to dictate it to his scribe or his scribes. It was more than one person. And one time part of the Quran was going to be that Allah had either 3 sisters, daughters, or wives. Basically, there was this 3-part goddess that was big in like Mecca at the time. Mecca even before Islam was a huge pilgrimage kind of tourist city. And so when Muhammad was trying to get Islam going, the people who were in charge of Mecca were like, nah. But then when they saw he was getting some traction, they're like, okay, we'll let you be a part of it if you accept our big money maker, which is this sort of female goddess that brings in a lot of traffic. And so originally he agrees to it and, publishes what later on became known as the Satanic Verses, saying where these goddesses fit into Islam. But then he just changed his mind. He was like, nope, there's only one God. And that because part of the legend of how the Quran was revealed to Muhammad was that the Archangel Gabriel came to him and told him to, what to put in it. And so he said that those verses about the goddess, that wasn't Gabriel, that was actually Satan pretending to be Gabriel. And so in Salman Rushdie's, I'm actually at that part in the book right now, I'm reading it, and you're kind of seeing it from the angel Gabriel's perspective. He was like, wait, no, that was still me. And so yeah, it ends up being like a whole thing. But I say all that to say, like in Iran right now, they, back in the 70s, they had a revolution where they let the religious people take over, and women were, forced to wear the hijab, and like they're now able to still like go to school and stuff, but you have to veil, like cover yourself. And a couple of days ago, there was a young lady who staged a protest at a university there and just showed up in her bra and panties to protest the hijab rules. I'll send it to you. I'll put it in the notes because they're actually going to have a protest on November 8th in solidarity with her. So it's just a reminder that what can happen when we let religion sort of run rampant. There's nothing wrong with being personal religious, but when you force your religion on other people, it's really messed up.
Yeah, and it should be socially unacceptable, but here we are.
Right, but because we see people like illogically feel a sense of safety around religion, even though a lot of times it makes us very unsafe in real life, because it promises you an afterlife. Like famously, Islam and Christianity promise a paradise for if you're good, you know, if you live a good life, then you get paradise later. But I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of evidence for that. So here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are. It's 1Chornicles 4. Did you have anything before I start?
No, we can get into it. I mean,
All right.
because you haven't seen Conclave yet, right?
I haven't, but you also haven't seen The Young Pope.
Well, I feel like this is way less of an investment.
Sure, but if you watch one episode of The Young Pope, which is shorter than Conclave, I bet you'll want to keep watching it. And I bet they have a lot to do with
First of
each
all,
other.
this made me want to watch Young Pope. Second of all,
yes.
Again, this is less of an investment than 3 episodes of Young Pope.
And actually, maybe that's what I'll do tonight as a treat to myself so I don't have to think about the election, because it is giving me a tremendous amount of anxiety. To me, this isn't just about winning or losing. This is about, to me, I am thinking about future generations. Like, I'm reaching the end of my reproductive journey. So a lot of this stuff isn't going to affect me as hard as it's going to affect like my daughters and granddaughters and grandsons, quite honestly, because everyone suffers under tyranny. Okay. 1Chornicles 4, Descendants of Judah. Let me make sure I'm recording. Hold on. Let's see. Fabulous. Okay. The sons of Judah: Perez, Hezron, Carmi, Hur, and Shobal. Reiah, son of Shobal, became the father of Jahath, and Jahath became the father of Ahumai and Lahad. These were the families of the Zorathites. The Zorathites, I guess. These were the sons of Etham: Jezreel, Isham, and Idbash. And the name of their sister was Hazelelponi. And Penuel was the father of Gedor, and Ezer the father of Hushah. These were the sons of Hur, and the firstborn of Ephrathah, the father of Bethlehem. Ashur, father of Tekoa, had 2 wives, Helah and Nara. Nara bore Haziam, Hephar, and Timnah, and Haashtari. These were the sons of Nara. The sons of Helah: Izreth, Izar, and Ethnan. Kaz became the father of Anub, Zobab, and the families of Atharhel, son of Haram. Jabez was honored more than his brothers, and his mother named him Jabez, saying, "Because I bore him in pain." Jabez called on the God of Israel, saying, "Oh, that you would bless me and enlarge my border, and that your hand might be with me, and that you would keep me from hurt and harm." And God granted what he asked. Shelub, the brother of Shahan, became the father of Mir, who was the father of Eshton. Eshton became the father of Bethrapha, Pasha, and Tehina, the father of Ir-Nashhash. These are the men of Rekha. The sons of Kenaz: Othniel and Surha, and the sons of Othniel and Haphath and Menonothai. Menonothai became the father of Oprah, and Shariah became the father of Joab, father of Har-Ashim, so called because they were artisans. The sons of Caleb, son of Jephunneh, Eru, Elah, Nam, and the son of Elah, Kenaz, the son of Jalal, Ziph, Ziphah, Tiraz, Azrael, son of Ezra, Jether, Mered, Epher, and Jalon. These are the sons of Bithah, daughter of Pharaoh, whom Mered married, and she conceived and bore Miriam, Shemaiah, Isbath, father of Timoah, and his Judean wife bore Jared, father of Gedor, Heber, father of Soka, and Jekutiel, father of Zanoah. The sons of the wife of Hodiah, this daughter of Naham, were the fathers of Keel, the Geramite, and Eshtemoa, the Machathite. The sons of Shimon, Amnon, Rena, Ben Hanan, and Tilon. The sons of Ishi, Zotheth, and Ben Zoeth. The sons of Shea, son of Judah, father of Lekah, Lada, father of Marsha. The families of the guild of linen workers of Beth Asheba, and Jocham, the men of Kozib, Joash, and Seraph, who married into Moab but returned to Lehem. Now the records are ancient. These were the potters and inhabitants of Netam and Jerda. They lived there with the king in his service. Descendants of Simeon. The sons of Simeon, Nemuel, Jemin, Jerub, Jera, Shal, Shoha, was his son Mibsam, his son Mishma, his son. The sons of Mishma, Hamuel, his son Zachar, his son Shimea, his son. Shimea had 16 sons and 6 daughters, but his brothers did not have many children, nor did all their family multiply like the Judeans. They lived in Beersheba, Molada, Harazar, Shula, Bilhah, Eziam, Tolad, Beth Uo, Hormah, Ziklag, Beth Markaboth, Hazar Susim, Beth Biri, and Shariam. These were the towns until David became king. Their villages were Edom, Ain, Rimion, Tochin, and Ashian, 5 towns along all their villages that were surrounded these towns as far as Baal. These were their settlements, and they kept a genealogical record. Meshabab, Jamlech, Joshua, son of Amaziah, Joel, Juhu, son of Jishbah, son of Shariah, son of Aziel, Elionai, Jechabah, Jeshua, Ashiel, Adiel, Jezmiel, Beaha, Zizah, son of Shiphi, son of Alon, son of Jediah, son of Shimmerai, son of Shimeah. These mentioned by name were leaders of their families, and their clans increased greatly. They journeyed to the entrance of Gedor, the east side of the valley, to seek pasture for their flocks, where they found rich, good pasture. The land was very broad, quiet, and peaceful, for the former inhabitants there belonged to Ham. These wretched came in the days of King Hezekiah of Judah, and attacked their tents and the Meum who were found there, and exterminated them to this day, and settled in their place, because there was pasture there for their flocks. And some of them, 500 men of the Simeonites, went to Mount Seir, having their leaders Pethiah, Neriah, Rephiah, and Uziel, sons of Isha. They destroyed the remnants of the Amalekites. They had escaped, and they have lived there to this day. Ugh.
All right.
That was unpleasant.
Yeah, it doesn't get better. But just to recap on, so I mean, again, more genealogy and some prayer in there.
I guess I don't know. Where was the prayer? Oh, here it is. Called on God and saying, "Oh, that you would bless me and enlarge my border." So he just prayed for more land. Cool. So, yeah.
Yeah, Jabez's prayer. Yeah, I have a hard time articulating why this is necessary and why these parts are even still included.
So you would take this out if you were doing a Bible edit?
Okay. Yes. Or, I mean, I would at least summarize it better. Like, I don't think it needs to be as detailed as it is.
Well, it would look better in like a family tree kind of chart formation. But I also still kind of feel like this is all very dodgy, because when you learn about kingdoms around the world, A lot of time there is a lot of kind of doubt shown, sort of doubt cast on the paternity of some of these descendants because of just life, man. We've all seen the Maury Povich show. It's mama's babies, daddy's maybe.
Do you have any comments? I mean, there was some, I guess, military activity in there as well. The Simeonites, who they were participating, I guess, or have participated in some of the military campaigns. They have 500 men.
No.
Nothing for you? Okay. All right. Well, moving on to Chronicles.
Just an overall gratitude that we don't have to live like that anymore.
1Chronicles 5, descendants of Reuben. The sons of Reuben, the firstborn of is. Oh, for our listeners, if we didn't say this before, we're reading the New Revised Standard Version. Yes. The sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel. He was the firstborn, but because he defiled his father's bed, his birthright was given to the sons of Joseph, son of Israel, so that he is not enrolled in the genealogy according to the birthright. Though Judah became prominent among his brothers and a ruler came from him, yet the birthright belonged to Joseph. The sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, Hanak, Palul, Hezron, and Carmi, the sons of Joel, Shemaiah his son, Gog his son, Shimi his son, Micah his son, Reiah his son, Baal his son, Beriah his son, whom King Pilneser of Assyria carried away into exile. He was a chieftain of the Reubenites and his kindred by their families. When the genealogy of their generations was reckoned, the chief Jael and Zechariah and Bela son of Azaz son of Shema son of Joel, who lived in Aror as far as Nebu and Baal Meon. He also lived to the east as far as the beginning of the desert this side of the Euphrates. Because their cattle had multiplied in the land of Gilead, and in the days of Saul, they made war on the Hagrites who fell by their hand, and they lived in their tents throughout all the region east of Gilead. Descendants of Gad. The sons of Gad lived beside them in the land of Bashan as far as Salekah, Joel the chief, Shapham second, Janai, and Saphat in Basan, and their kindred according to their clans, Michael, Meshulam, Sheba, Jerah, Jachan, Ziah, and Eber, 7. These were the sons of Abihail, son of Huri, son of Jeroah, son of Gilead, son of Michael, son of Jeheshai, son of Jadu, son of Buz. Ahai, son of Abdiel, son of Guni, was chief in their clan, and they lived in Gilead, in Bashan, and in its towns, and in all the pasture lands of Sharon to their limits. All of these were enrolled by genealogies in the days of King Jotham of Judah, and in the days of King Jeroboam of Israel. The Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh had valiant warriors who carried shield and sword and drew the bow, expert in war, 44,760 for service. They made war on the Hagrites, Jetur, Naphish, and Nodab when they received help against them. The Hagrites and all who were with them were given into their hands, for they cried to God in the battle, and he granted their entreaty because they trusted in him. They captured their livestock, 50,000 of their camels, 250,000 sheep, 2,000 donkeys, and 100,000 captives. Many fell slain because the war was of God, and they lived in their territory until the exile. The half-tribe of Manasseh. The members of the half-tribe of Manasseh lived in the land. They lived very numerous from Bashan to Baal Hermon, Senir, and Mount Hermon. These were the heads of their clans: Epher, Ishi, Eliel, Azrael, Jeremiah, Hodaviah, and Jadiel, mighty warriors, famous men, heads of their clans, but they transgressed against the God of their ancestors and prostituted themselves to the gods of the peoples of the land, whom God had destroyed before them. So the God of Israel stirred up the spirit of King Pul of Assyria, the spirit of King Tilgar-Pilneser of Assyria, and he carried them away, namely the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, and brought them to Halah, Habor, Hara, and the river of Gozan to this day. All right. Or thanks be to God.
Okay.
That was a lot.
That was. So a lot of tribalism. It's giving. The first thing that kind of stood out to me, and I went to look it up to make sure, was that Reuben lost his birthright for defiling his father's bed. And I feel like they kind of glossed over that a little bit, because that seems like a big deal, right? Do you by any chance remember what Reuben did?
Of course I do not.
Okay, fair enough. Like, it did come up. So Reuben, I'm gonna let's see. So this was from Genesis 35:22. Reuben is described as having sexual relations with Bilhah, which was his father's concubine. And so that made him lose his birthright, because he was which is something that would not an uncommon thing when a man has multiple wives. Sometimes, and a lot of times when those wives are a lot younger, they end up being more attracted to his sons because they're closer to his age. Also, Bilhah was a slave. I don't know, I can't remember if she was Rachel or Leah's slave, because both Rachel and Leah were sisters and their husband was Jacob. And since they both had slaves, because they were in the privileged class, they offered his slaves to Jacob to impregnate so he could have a lot of sons. Wasn't that nice? Another word for it is rape. You know, like when slavery is common, no one even thinks about it anymore. But when a person who isn't allowed to make decisions is given up to another person, it's not exactly a consent fest. That's just rape. So shout out to Bilhah for actually having sex with someone she wanted to have sex with. If that was the case, who knows? I mean, Reuben could have been raping her too. Who knows? But it also kind of lends credence to what I was saying earlier about, you don't know who the daddy of these kids were.
You do not. And that is
especially when
sad.
There's so much inbreeding. They look like everybody else.
Yeah, that's sad. I mean, again, what do we have here? Genealogy, Reuben, genealogy of Gad, had a half tribe of Manasseh. More, I guess. I guess I'm trying to figure out the
Joseph.
What about Joseph?
Well, because he, I think that's considered a half tribe, because remember he went to, when they sold him as a slave, and he became a big deal in Egypt. So he had like Egyptian wives outside of the tribe. So they only considered him a half tribe, I think, because I think his kid's name was Manasseh.
Got you. Okay.
If I'm remembering that correctly, who knows? But it doesn't really matter. These people, if they were real, have been gone for a long time. And once again, this is all just kind of making a case for Jesus being a descendant of David, so he's the rightful Messiah. And a lot of this too only works in the structure of kingdoms, which, you know, most of the modern world has moved away from, because kingdoms aren't good.
No, they're not. And
or at least they're not. Their democracy's a better system. It's not great, but it's better than just we're gonna, you know, let God assign our leaders. So the priests are in charge of picking the kings, and then the sons of the kings are in charge.
I just don't understand the fear of like what is there? I'm having a hard time.
It's the fear of dying,
which is not a fear that I share.
Exactly, but you have to think about other people. Most people are panicky animals who don't want to die. And so what modern Christianity is selling them is like, hey, you don't have to die.
if you give us enough money and stay in God's good graces, you get to go to heaven, baby. Your pets are there. Your grandparents are there. Hitler's there. Like, it's going to be great. Like, you can just float on a cloud all day. You'll never feel any pain, forever and ever and ever, never dying.
I guess I don't even know how to rationalize that, because I guess on the surface it sounds great, but if you just have no struggle or nothing to test yourself against, then what the fuck? Like that, I feel like at a certain point that becomes boring. Like when rich people who never had to fucking do anything to get rich, like a lot of them struggle with that because it's just like they don't know what to do with themselves.
Well, who knows? Maybe there'll be drugs in heaven. That's usually what people do when they get bored.
I don't know. And I'm not even trying to say this like I'm not trying to come off like, oh, I'm like better than the thinking of other people. Obviously, I have my own addictions too, but this shit is just this is stupid to me. Like reading these and then observing that people really believe this shit is fucking dumb. And I'm getting more comfortable in just walking through life and just saying, no, I don't fuck with that, or I don't want to talk about that because there's no point with you, because I'm not going to change your mind. You're not going to change my mind. And it's crazy how much is invested.
That would be the polite thing to do, is not discuss your, personal religious beliefs publicly. Like,
see, I think that's dangerous too, though. I don't mind discussing it. What I don't like is what you alluded to earlier, is the fact that like we're having a discussion. This is not you're trying to convince me. There's a difference.
Sure. And I'm also not trying to make it policy that applies to everybody. To me, that just shows how weak your position is, because if this was actually supposed to be an all-powerful God, why does he need your help? Like, whatever created our universe and reality didn't need our help. Most of reality has existed without human beings. You had brought something up, I think, on the last episode when we were talking about the Catholic Church having to pay out that money in Los Angeles for raping all those kids. So, oh shoot, I said that and then lost my thread. Oh no, you had brought up, because we were talking about how we keep time and about how we do sort of the before and after Christ model, because the church kind of, set all that up. And the idea that, human history is much longer than what we're presented with, because a lot of our education system is heavily influenced, I had mentioned before, by the Ku Klux Klan, who are biblical, purport to be a Christian organization. They claim to be a Christian organization and do biblical literalism. But it seems like, so according to them, the world, like the universe, like Earth, can only be about 5,000 or 6,000 years old. But in reality, it's millions of years old. And I think the universe is the way we're saying it's 14 billion years, but it would have even existed before there was our sun. Like, that's how we keep time. We use a solar calendar, but our best approximations is this could be billions of years of time, and we've only been around for maybe 100,000 years at the most. So it's not, to me, it proves the fact that we're not the focal point, but that has always been a pushback against that, teaching that, because we want to feel like everything was made around and for us.
This is why I don't get along with people who have that mentality.
That makes sense.
Because I don't feel like I'm the focal point. I knew very young that I just wasn't that special, and that's okay. But it doesn't mean that you can't go live a great life. It doesn't even mean that you shouldn't try to achieve a better life.
Well, I don't even think it means you're not special. It's just you're not special to everybody. And you're not special to the universe. Like, the universe, yeah. But to me, it's enough that I'm special to the people I care about and the people who care about me. But I don't need to be special to every single person in the world. To most people in the world, I'm just part of the scenery.
I mean, yeah. But also...
And I'm also okay with dying.
I'm not looking to be... You said what?
But I'm also okay with dying. I'm okay with the natural progression of life and renewal and death. Like, that's just part of it. Like, that's my gift to the world. I'm going to get in the ground and die. So, you know, life can keep going so that I'm not just taking more than my share. Like, I feel like existence is a gift. And the part of religion that I do identify with is this sense of wonder and joy and gratitude for existence. I just don't accredit it to a sky daddy or heavenly father. Heavenly father sounds, you know, more spiritual, but the other way of saying that is sky daddy, and I'm just not going for that.
I'm not. I haven't been for a long time. I don't plan on changing that.
How would you
very much so feel like when people mention even like I love Jesus or Christian first or whatever the fuck people be saying, I just automatically am like, I don't want to be around
like,
you.
do you, boo? Okay, so I just had an idea, and let me know what you think, because I know you don't really listen to the podcast. But because these like verses are so brutal with all of this naming, I think when I go back in and edit, I might speed up this part. I'm sorry, it's just rough. So what would you think about that? Since you're an equal part of this podcast.
I would say, try it, and hopefully our listeners will give us feedback on that.
Yeah, so I'm going to try it, and I'm not going to keep doing it. It's just going to be specifically for all this name listing, just because it is so tedious. And it is funny to hear your voice sped up. It just makes it sound like chipmunks. Yeah. Okay, so that's going to help me read this, because I'm just like, God, this is going to take so long. Did you have anything before I start?
Oh, go ahead.
All right.
1Chornicles 6. Descendants of Levi. The sons of Levi, Gershom, Kohath, and Merari. The sons of Kothan, Amram, Ishar, Hebron, and Uziel. The children of Amram, Aaron, Moses, and Miriam. The sons of Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. Zar became the father of Phinehas and Abishal, and Buki of Uzi of Zeriah of Meronoth of Amara of Ahitub of Zadok and Ahimaz of Arzah of Johan of Azra was he who served as the priest in the house of Solomon, built in Jerusalem. Azra became the father of Amara of Ahitub of Zadok of Shalom of Hilkiah of Azra of Shariah of Zehodak. Hezhozadak and Jehozadak went into exile when the Lord sent Judah and Jerusalem into exile by the hands of Nebuchadnezzar. The sons of Levi, Gershom, Kohath, and Merari. These are the names of the sons of Gershom, Libni and Shemi. The sons of Kotham, Amram, and Ishar, Hebron, and Uziel. The sons of Merari, Mali, and Mushi. These are the clans of the Levites according to their ancestry. Gershom, Libni, his son, Jahath, his son, Zimna, his son, Joath, his son, Edo, his son, Zerah, his son, Jerahirah, his son. Sons of Kohath, Amminadab, his son, Korath, his son, Azra, his son, Elkanah, his son, Ibihath, his son, Asher, his son, Tahath, his son, Uriel, his son, Uzziah, his son, Shaul, his son, the sons of Elkan, Amashiah, and Ahimoth, Elhanan, his son, Sophia, his son, Naphath, his son, Eliab, his son, Jeraham, his son, Elkanan, his son, the sons of Samuel, Joel, and his firstborn, the second Abijah, the sons of Mariah, Mali, Libni, his son, Shimea, his son, Uzzah, his son, Shimea, his son, Haggiah, his son, Ashiah, his son. Musicians appointed by David. These are the men who David put in charge of the service of song in the house of the Lord after the ark came to rest there. They ministered with song before the tabernacle of the tent of meeting until Solomon had built the house of the Lord in Jerusalem. And they performed their service in due order. These are the men who served, and their sons were of the Kohathites, Heman, the singer, son of Joel, son of Samuel, son of El-Kahan, son of Jeroboam, son of Eliel, son of Tohat, son of Zeb, son of Elkanah, son of Mahath, son of Amishai, son of El-Kahan, son of Joel, son of Azariah, son of Zephi, son of Tahath, son of Asher, son of Ebisaphath, son of Koran, son of Izhar, son of Kohath, son of Levi, son of Israel, and his brother Asaph, who stood on his right, namely Asaph, son of Bereshana, son of Shimea, son of Michael, son of Bishai, son of Malchiah, son of Ethni, son of Ezra, son of Adihah, son of Ethan, son of Zimmah, son of Shimea, son of Jahath, son of Jerusham, son of Levi. On the left were their kindred sons of Merari, Ethan, son of Kishi, son of Abdi, son of Malchuk, the son of Hashibat, son of Amazah, son of Hilkiah, son of Amazi, son of Bani, son of Shemer, son of Mali, son of Mushi, son of Mary, son of Levi, and their kindred. The Levites were appointed for all the service of the tabernacle of the house of God. But Aaron and his sons made offerings on the altar of burnt offering and the altar of incense, doing all the work of the most holy place to make atonement for Israel, according to all that Moses, the son of God, all that Moses, the servant of God, had commanded. These are the sons of Aaron: Eleazar his son, Phinehas his son, Abishai his son, Buki his son, Uzi his son, Zechariah his son, Raioth his son, Amariah his son, Ahitub his son, Zadok his son, and Ahimaaz his son. Settlements of the Levites. These are the dwelling places according to their settlements within their borders to the sons of Aaron of the family of Kohathites, for the lot fell to them first. To them gave Hebron in the land of Judah and its surrounding pasture lands, but the fields of the city and its villages they gave to Caleb, son of Jephunneh. To the sons of Aaron they gave the cities of refuge: Hebron, Libnath with its pasture lands, Jatir, Timoah with its pasture lands, Helion with its pasture lands, Debir with its pasture lands, Ashan with its pasture lands, and Beth Shemesh with its pasture lands. From the tribe of Benjamin, Jeba with its pasture lands, Alameth with its pasture lands, and Thoeth with its pasture lands. All their towns throughout their family were 13. To the rest of the Kohathites were given a lot out of the family of the tribe, out of the half tribe, the half of Manasseh, 10 towns. To the Gershonites, according to their families, were allotted 13 towns, out of the tribes of Issachar, Asher, Naphtali, and Manasseh in Bashan. To the Merathites, according to their families, were allotted 12 towns out of the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and Zebulun. So the people of Israel gave the Levites the town with their pasture lands. They also gave them by lot out of the tribes of Judah, Simeon, and Benjamin, these towns that are mentioned by name. And some of the families of the sons of Kohath had towns in the territory out of the tribe of Ephraim. They were given the cities of refuge: Shechem with its pasture lands in the hills country of Ephraim, Jezer with its pasture lands, Jokmeam with its pasture lands, Beth-Horath with its pasture lands, Aijalon with its pasture lands, Gath-Rimmon with its pasture lands, and out of the half tribe of Manasseh, Abner with its pasture lands, and Bileam with its pasture lands for the rest of the families of the Kohathites. To the Gershonites, out of the half-tribe of Manasseh, Goath in Bashan with its pasture lands, and Ashrath with its pasture lands, out of the tribe of Issachar, Kedesh with its pasture lands, Daberath with its pasture lands, Ramoth with its pasture lands, and Anium with its pasture lands, out of the tribe of Asher, Mashal with its pasture lands, Abdon with its pasture lands, Huko with its pasture lands, and Rehob with its pasture lands, and out of the tribe of Naphtali, Kedesh and Galilee with its pasture lands, Hanan with its pasture lands, Kiriathim with its pasture lands. To the rest of the Merathites, out of the tribe of Zebulun, Mono with its pasture lands, Tabar with its pasture lands across the Jordan from Jericho to the east side of the Jordan, out of the tribe of Reuben, Bezer with the steep with its pasture lands, Jedath with its pasture lands, Kedomonath with its pasture lands, and Methath with its pasture lands, and out of the tribe of Gad, Ramoth in Galilee with its pasture lands, Minham with its pasture lands, and Heboth with its pasture lands, and Jazer with its pasture lands. Thanks be to God.
That was a lot.
It was. That was really hard. I would like a round of applause, please.
I'm sure you can edit that in. Yeah, this has just become a very arduous experience.
Yeah, this is a slog.
Yeah. But again, we're still keeping with the theme of genealogy. Seems like there was, or at least that they, I don't know, they they divided the Levites and kind of broke them down into their main groups.
And their pasture lands. Did you hear about the pasture lands?
That was a lot.
I guess,
yes.
To me, I feel like this was sort of a legal document as well. Like, you not only got this patch of land, but you also got the pasture lands, which would have been a big deal because these were mostly sheep herders, and that's how you get your wealth. So, you know, your livestock was your wealth, and if you can't feed them, your livestock would just die. So I can imagine there were a lot of disputes over pasture lands according to how much they were mentioned.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
That makes more sense. I mean, you said that'd be the fact that it is a legal document. Actually makes a lot of sense. So, I just think they could have done a better job of separating
Sure. Yeah, this doesn't feel like super spiritual. Except for the fact that it was the Levites and that was the priest class. So, there's that. So, are you Christian yet?
No, I don't foresee that happening.
You never know, man. Anything's possible. What would it take? That is an interesting kind of like thought experiment. Like, what would it take to make you to believe not just this religion, but like any religion?
God coming from the heavens and saying why their plan was their plan.
But why? How would you believe it was God? Because a lot of like people have professed like they were God. So how would you know? Like, what would convince you? Like,
I guess that's
what my thing was. Like, what would convince you that this was God?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it would have to definitely be, again, like somebody coming. That's not normal shit. So I'm not. There could be an argument that that's not God. That's just some fucking alien. But I guess I wouldn't know any better. So I mean, I would really want to just have a more in-depth conversation.
Okay.
That would at least get the ball rolling.
Okay. I honestly, I'm asking you. I don't really know. I guess because I'm not a believer in the supernatural. I think there's just reality. I don't think there's like a subdivision of reality that's called magic or like supernatural. I think there's just natural. And a lot of times when we think stuff is supernatural, it's just technology. Like if you like introduced certain technologies to populations that weren't familiar with modernity, you would seem to be a god because you have so much power. But generally, a lot of times you end up finding out most things that look like magic, it's just a trick. You know? I don't think Houdini, interesting enough, a big part of his thing was like disproving like psychics.
Oh.
And actually, because when he was around, spiritualism was kind of like getting big, and like people holding seances to communicate with the dead and stuff. So like he and his wife had a code word they had agreed on. So they were like, yeah, if one of us dies, go to a medium and see if you can get them to say the code word, because that'll mean that like that's me talking. I was like, that's kind of clever, because it's kind of like, yeah, you should, because I don't know if you've ever watched like psychics or mediums work. It's I should ask you. I shouldn't just assume that. Do you?
No, I have not.
Well, I shouldn't assume. Like, do you believe psychics are a thing?
Do I believe they're a thing?
Well, I mean, do you think that they're talking like the mediums and psychics who claim to be able to talk to dead people?
No.
That's a hard no?
No, I do not. No.
Okay.
No, just like I don't believe in. I think there may be some small merit to it, but I feel how I feel about astrology, and zodiac signs, and like I just don't. But people swear by it, and it's just because people want to have something to believe in.
Yeah, I'm usually I don't get necessarily mad about the astrology stuff, even though I don't believe in that either. But I do sometimes get mad at the psychics who claim to be able to talk to dead people, because I feel like they really are taking advantage of the grief people feel, because that grief is very real. Like when someone you love dies, especially when they die unexpectedly, and there's like all these things you wish you could still say to them. And there's this person who's like, hey, for the low price of, whatever dollars, I can hold a seance and I can find your loved one in the beyond and talk to them. Even though in the moment it might make that person feel better, I think in the long run it's very harmful.
Yeah, I think charging people for relief is disgusting behavior.
Yeah.
Like, whether it's done that way or in the medical industry, I just think it's like our goal should be to help each other.
I agree.
And people get so caught up in trying to make money, but
They do.
I believe that by helping other people, it helps you get closer to something that you want, because people may be more inclined to help you.
Fair.
But that's just
But
theory.
I think our
film
fear of
theory.
death like motivates so much of our behavior. I don't want to make it sound like I'm not scared to die. I've just made my peace with it. Like, I obviously don't want to die right now, but I accept the fact that is, like, no one's getting out of here alive. Like, that's just part of the thing. I wouldn't give it up. I like being alive, and I've been very sad every time I've lost someone I really care about. But to me, that's why it's just all the more important to make our time together count.
Yeah, that's why I'm comfortable with it also ending.
Yeah, because we don't have forever. Yeah. All right. Well, next time on the Bible Breakdown, it looks like we're going to be listing more descendants.
Yes. So we'll be doing
But it looks like there
First
might be some other stuff. Like, it looks like we might be talking about furniture too.
Oh, perfect. We'll be doing 1Chronicles 7, 8, and 9.
And also a reminder, hell still hasn't been mentioned yet. I feel like it's such a big feature of, like, motivating behavior. Like, you don't want to go to hell. Oh, you going to hell. Still no hell. You'd think it'd come up before the half tribe of Manasseh. We know all about them, though. Don't worry. But it's like, hey, if you don't do the right thing, your soul might be tortured forever in a hell dimension. But we haven't gotten to that yet.
Yeah, hell is just a retcon.
It really is, though. I really would like to do a deep dive into the history of hell and how it came about, because it wasn't always a part of Christian theology. It came along later with the Vatican.
Oh, well, interesting.
It is very interesting. And funny enough, the Vatican is sort of backing away from the hell doctrine, because there's not a ton of biblical evidence for it, and it's technically an abuse tactic, especially for small children.
Yeah, I mean, that used to kind of fuck with me, but
Understandably
whatever.
so. It's a horrible thing to think about, like, to burden someone with. Like, I would always be afraid of, like, what if I just accidentally die in my sleep before I have a chance to repent? Am I going to spend forever in hell?
I just pray that I not even pray, because that's the wrong, but I would like to meet someone who, because it's slim pickings of people who have free thought and don't give a fuck about none of this.
Oh, did I tell you about that dinner I went to, Time Left?
No.
Okay, so have you ever seen the ads for it on Instagram? That's where I found it.
What is it
Okay.
called? Time Left?
Mm-hmm. And what they do is they set you up with a dinner with 5 strangers. And so I did this last week. So I ended up being at the Rathskeller, which I'd never eaten at before. I'd been there, but I'd never eaten there.
Okay.
It was pretty cool. Can you believe I was the only black person there?
No,
In the
especially
restaurant, not just the
especially at the
dinner.
Rathskeller, because that's
Right.
a German restaurant.
But it was pretty cool, and the experience was very cool. So out of the 6 of us, 4 of us, it was our first time, but the other 2, they'd done it like 9 and 10 times. And it's just a really cool way to have sort of fresh conversations, because a lot of times the way our lives are set up, and especially our online conversations, we're just kind of directed towards people who think like us. But it was actually very cool to sit down with, like, just 5 people I never met before, and we just had a cool dinner. So yeah, I definitely plan on doing it again, and I do recommend it. And apparently it started like in France. One of my clients just moved to Paris, and she said she's going to do it when she gets there.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah, so that was a free ad for Time Left. Yeah, you just buy like a ticket for it. The ticket's $16, and then when you get there, you buy your dinner.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool.
Yeah. And they're and it seems like the people at the restaurant, they're pretty used to it. They're like, oh yeah, the table's over there.
Yeah, never heard of it, and I don't get those ads.
Well, they probably know you're not lonely.
I mean, that's not necessarily true, but
The algorithm's very, your ads are very targeted. Oh, speaking of okay, I'm sorry, it's supposed to be over, but I watched Midsommar for the first time last week. Have you ever watched that?
it's been the basis of a lot of frustrating conversation for me. Yes.
Oh no. Man, it just to me was an interesting look because cults, because it's supposed to be horror. And to me, being trapped in a cult is the ultimate horror story. Yeah.
That's all you got from that movie?
That cults are bad?
Okay, well, I guess we can just because that's not. I mean, that's part of it, but that's certainly not the conversations that I've dove into. Everybody.
I mean, to me, I thought it was a case study of watching a girl like getting seduced by a cult.
It's that, and then people. When this movie's brought up,
and why you should break up when the relationship starts getting bad.
Yeah, and I talked about this ad nauseum because every woman that I met feels like they fuck with her decision, and every dude that I know who's watched that movie was like, fuck her.
Oh no, I don't think that was like I don't think spoilers for Midsommar, but I don't think she made the right decision by deciding to choose her ex-boyfriend as the sacrifice. I think the bad decisions were all made when nobody left after they watched the 72-year-olds kill themselves, and then watched the people like actually kill him. Like that to me would have been like, welp. It's been real. And that's the thing too, the isolation of it all is, so I wouldn't have gone in the first place. I don't trust any communes. I already know what's up. I remember my ex one time wanted to do like, because like those little Amish places will sometimes have a little tourism stuff. I was like, hell no. You won't be able to charge your phone. You probably aren't going to have cell service. And
the only way I'm going to
inbred.
The only way I'm doing that is I'm bringing firearms.
They got firearms too. I wouldn't trust none of that stuff. And they're more organized. I'm sorry. The more organized team is, they just have the 99% chance of winning because they've got the numbers and they've got the organization. And they also have.
I wouldn't even say they have the organization. They just know the terrain.
They have the terrain, but trust me, cults are they're very hierarchical. They're very organized. And a lot of times too, they're based on like religious stuff. So you're not thinking logically. Never. I wouldn't set foot out there. I would never. I still don't even really like going like to Mooresville, let alone like I'm gonna go out to the. Huh?
Is that a cult out there?
No, it's one of the small towns in Indiana.
Yeah, which has a history of being.
Like a sunset town. Like a lot of these isolationists, a big part of what they were trying to do is isolate themselves from the darkies because they want to stay white. So yeah, I'm not going to impose my presence. I'm like, you guys keep doing what you're doing. I'll see you at the farmer's market.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, everyone, your body belongs to you. So yeah. Ignore people who try to convince you otherwise.
And Bible Breakdown Podcast at gmail.com. Be curious, not judgmental, I guess.
Cool.
All right. Peace, audience.